DuPont innovation lowers LCOE by increasing cell efficiencies and system lifetime while reducing total system cost. Materials matter.
That is, for me, the show of industry.
Hello and welcome to this week's newscast. In the headlines this week, we take a look at the most recent developments in the ongoing EU anti-dumping saga, in which 18 EU member states voted against solar duties. Meanwhile, the Japanese market continues to boom, and Canadian Solar and Trina Solar reveal mixed market strategies in light of these global developments. Dominating the headlines over the last week has been the ratcheting up of the political and industrial posturing over the pending anti-dumping duties to be imposed on Chinese PV products entering the EU. 3 of the world's largest solar companies gathered at the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Beijing to protest against European Commission plans to levy tariffs as high as 67.9%. Demonstrations against duties also sprung up in Brussels ahead of the members' vote.
Today we're having a demonstration on behalf of AFASE, the Alliance for Affordable Solar Energy, against the imposition of duties. We're trying to safeguard the European solar industry, and AFASE represents over 500 European companies and a total amount of over 60,000 jobs, and we want to protect the development of our industry.
Meanwhile, PV Tech's sister site, Solar Power Portal, reported that the UK government had broken its silence over the ongoing EC investigation, urging other EU member states in Brussels to vote against duties. Momentum against a yes vote to duties increased, led by Germany and Chancellor Merkel, which ultimately led to 18 member states voting against, 4 in favour and 5 abstaining. Countries who voted in support of the proposals include some of Europe's largest solar players, most notably France, Italy and Spain. Yet according to EU law, formal negotiations with China can only begin after preliminary findings from the investigation are published in the EU's official journal, as expected in a week's time. Negotiations could continue through the second half of the year, when final determination is made in December. Making a serious effort to meet customer demand in Europe before the anti-dumping duties are imposed on Chinese PV module producers, Trina Solar's first quarter revenue was dominated by sales to Europe, notably Germany and the UK. Trina Solar reported first quarter 2013 revenue of $260 million, with Germany accounting for 25% of sales, a 13% Q-on-Q increase, while the UK accounted for 23% of sales, up from only 4.6%. The UK is experiencing a boom in utility-scale PV projects and has been dependent on lower-cost Chinese-produced modules for meeting project ROIs ahead of a cut in the feed-in tariff. But overall, Trina Solar's sales to Europe are shifting to emerging markets in China, Japan and India, but is expected to reveal plans to meet European customer demand when it receives notification of its duties from the European Commission. Management noted in the call to discuss financial results that Europe as a whole would still account for around 40% of revenue in the second quarter of 2013. The instigator of the anti-dumping investigation, SolarWorld, continued to experience further declines in shipments and revenue in the first quarter of 2013, according to the release of preliminary results. PV module and kit sales were 109 megawatts, down from 147 megawatts in the same quarter of 2012. Severe winter weather was blamed for the lower shipments, notably in its main German domestic market, as well as the ongoing impact of its restructuring efforts due to its chronic financial position. SolarWorld reported first quarter revenue of €112 million compared to €170 million in the prior year. Losses were at least €40 million. With the Japanese market gaining serious momentum, the country installed over 1.5 gigawatts of new PV capacity between April 2012 and the end of February 2013, according to statistics compiled by Japan's Agency for Natural Resources and Energy. So far, the main market has been residential, making up over 75% of installations to date. But according to a report from Deutsche Bank, a total of 12 gigawatts of PV projects had already received approval under the first tariff, and that demand is likely approaching a 7 to 9 gigawatt annual run rate. So no apparent sign of slowing down, despite the reduction in incentives enforced in April. In related news, Canadian Solar said this week that the hot Japanese market accounted for 24.5% of their shipments in the first quarter of 2013, a 75.9% increase from the previous quarter. The company said it also had a project pipeline in Japan of 125 megawatts. Canadian Solar also reported net revenue of $263.6 million. Overall shipments reached 340 megawatts, in line with updated shipment guidance made in early May. In contrast to Trina Solar, Europe accounted for only 24.7% of net revenue, down from 40.6% in the fourth quarter of 2012. But Canadian Solar revealed that it was supplying modules into the EU from its assembly plant in Ontario, Canada. The company estimated that it would only ship between 30 and 40 megawatts to the EU in the second quarter, or around 10% of expected shipments, which were primarily allocated to key customers only. Also of interest was the fact that the company expected to return to full-year profitability in 2013, one of the first major PV energy providers to do so. And finally, Ernest Moniz was confirmed as the new Energy Secretary by 97 votes to 0 in the US Senate. In his first remarks on renewables as the new US Energy Secretary, Moniz had this to say.
Certainly pushing on solar across the board, and I say I'm very bullish on solar. I think it's going to be a lot bigger than most people think, sooner than they think, in my view.
But Secretary Moniz also reiterated his strong support for natural gas as a bridge fuel, a position for which he has previously attracted criticism.
This natural gas boom is a boon. First of all, we all know that it is partially responsible for the decrease in CO2 emissions that we have experienced over the last years, in the absence of at least overarching legislation. Secondly, what I would argue is that the way to look at it, and is gas as kind of a bridge to a very low carbon future, is that it affords us a little bit more time to develop the technologies, to lower the costs of the alternative technologies, to get the market penetration of these new technologies.
The Solar Energy Industries Association welcomed the Secretary's comments on renewables, despite his enthusiastic support for natural gas. However, in his remarks, Moniz admitted that securing a clean energy future would require pushing hard on renewable technologies.
This is the time to get those ready for the marketplace on a big scale. So this is the decade, I believe, the crucial decade for us to accomplish that.
And that's all for this week. Be sure to tune in next week for more news. And in the meantime, you can keep up to date with all the latest developments in the solar PV industry via our website and our Twitter feed. Thanks for watching.